Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. A quick shout out to all of the new subscribers I've been getting lately. It's awesome, thank you so much. The channel keeps growing and it's doing great. And for those of you who enjoy my videos, would like to see them in their home feed but haven't subscribed, just go ahead and click that subscribe button. Now let's get started with today's story. This post is from the subreddit Relationships and it's by user Deleted. I, 30 female, wasn't invited to a yearly trip my friends and I have done for the past 8 years. Not sure if I'm overreacting or misinterpreting. So, every year, my closest group of friends have taken a weekend trip to stay at a cabin, get a little drunk, play board games, and hang out. I started this tradition in college with my favorite people and have been going every year to keep in touch with friends I truly love and admire. Now, I just found out the trip is happening this weekend through Snapchat, and it's been made clear that I wasn't invited. To be clear, I did move across the country almost 2 years ago, but I have been trying my best to keep in touch. I was invited to and flew out for the meetup last year, and even flew out for another camping trip. I try to text people, but I also have severe social anxiety and rarely call anyone. It did seem like we were losing a little bit of touch over the past few months, but I always assumed we were close enough and capable of picking up where we left off every time we saw each other. I even asked the person who usually plans it if he was thinking of doing a trip this year, but he never responded. I used to be very close with these people. We all went through very impressionable parts of our early 20s together and have always talked about how we'll keep in touch for as long as possible. I'm completely heartbroken. No one thought to invite me this year. It hurts so much to think that people who I hold with such high importance don't feel I'm someone worth keeping in touch with. I used to feel so loved by them and now I'm hurt and alone. But I know this is what happens in life. Friends grow apart and that's always been clear, but I'm having a hard time rationalizing my emotions. It's just that people always tell you distance will prove who your closest friends are, but I'm truly caught off guard by how few close friends I ended up keeping. This realization is so sudden and harsh to me, it's just hitting really hard. Am I overreacting? I feel like it would be absurd to text someone telling them how I feel, but I also love them a lot and want them to know that I care enough to fly out to see them. Am I too desperate to keep friends who may not actually care as much about me? Well, OP, from the looks of it, it does sound like the person organizing left you out on purpose. I mean, you asked them if there was going to be a trip this year and they just never replied, which of course absolutely sucks. But that doesn't mean that all of the friends that you had in the past don't want to be friends with you anymore. It just means that there's one a-hole who's kind of like gatekeeping the friend group from you. I'd say if you really want to find out what's going on, then try to figure out which one of these people would actually respond to you and try to send them a message, maybe do a Skype call or something with them to try to feel things out. You know, just in case you want to play it cool and kind of keep the peace in case anything else is going on. You don't want to go outright and accuse somebody of, pushing you out of the group. You just go like, hey, by the way, I just found out that the trip is happening next week. And I had no idea about it, nobody ever told me. And then you'll probably get another side of the information that you were missing, or you'll get the actual story about what's going on. Now, if you reach out to many of your old friends and nobody replies to you, then yeah, you've been effectively pushed out of the group, which absolutely sucks, of course, because yeah, it is kind of like a betrayal or a heartbreak, but then you got enough information to just say F them, all of them, and I'm moving on with my life. I mean, you're already living in another part of the country. I'm sure you've got a network or a support group over there that can help you out, your own local friends or something, and you start anew. There's another Reddit post where I read somebody said, sometimes people move out of your life to make room for new people. And maybe that's what's going on, but you won't know until you actually find out. Everything else is just speculation. So just call the closest person you have in that group of people and get the full story. And what do you guys think about OP's situation? How would you deal with it? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. No, you hang up.
You
says, would definitely not be absurd to tell them how you feel. For whatever reason they haven't invited you, they need to know that this has hurt you. Is there a chance that they might thought you wouldn't want to come or wouldn't be interested as you'd lost touch with them a bit? Not excusing it, just trying to figure out their motives, as that might reduce the hurt feelings. Either way, you won't know the full story and get closure on this until you've asked them why you weren't invited and how you feel about it. And OP responds, thank you for reaching out. It's hard to build up the courage to text someone, but I really feel I should. I don't think anyone would assume I'm not interested, as I've flown out a few times already and even asked the person planning about it. This person, though, has stopped liking my stuff on Instagram and doesn't reply to my texts or messages while still interacting with everyone else on social media. He didn't even invite me to his upcoming wedding. This is a complete 180 from just last year though, and we always used to joke, talk, and send stupid crap to each other. The only thing I can think of is that he's more political than I am, and I don't voice opinions in the same way he does. FolkDeath95 says, going to play devil's advocate for a second here. Moving away is a choice you made, and these are the things that eventually come with it. For the people still living in your old city, life goes on without you. The longer you're away, the less likely they'll be to remember to text you about something. Though I agree, the whole thing of your friend not replying to your texts or social media is lame. The 2-year mark is pretty much when that stuff starts happening. I'd let them know how you feel, but don't be surprised if they forgot or maybe felt it would be weird if you were there. You haven't been a regular in their lives for 2 years now. And OP responds, yeah, I completely understand this. I guess I just didn't believe it would be this way after how close we all were. But it does make sense. Just hurts super bad though. Toots and Boots says, just bite the bullet and tell them how you feel, even if it has to be over text. If I were you, I'd let them know how much their friendship means to you and you're confused as to why you weren't included in the plan. At least this way, you'll be able to get those skeptical thoughts that are likely driving you crazy out of your head. If their response is something that hurts your feelings, at least you'll know where they stand and you'll be able to start working on moving on. Or maybe they figured you weren't interested because you haven't been as connected since the move. Only one way to find out. I'm sorry you're going through this. Not being included can really hurt. Additional information from OP's comments. To expand on my comment about my friend being more political than me, he ended up continuing his education and became extremely intellectual and political. A part of me believes he doesn't want to keep in touch with me because I don't understand things the same way that he does, or he doesn't have anything to talk to me about anymore. But other friends in the group do still reach out. Now, we all share similar political outlooks, albeit they have a much better understanding than I do. However, I make an effort to educate myself as much as possible. If I did offend him with something I said, it would most likely be ignorance rather than opposing views. One of our friends in the group does have extremely opposing views, but they're all able to talk about them in depth. I've never been the most political articulate, but I think I know enough to at least participate in the conversation, and I always have. My biggest concern is that he thinks I'm stupid or have become so awkward socially that he doesn't enjoy my company anymore, but it's really hard to say. I am an extremely non-confrontational person, so texting someone is hard for me to do. Also, I don't think they know about my anxiety, but they know I'm always trying to hang out. I have flown in for this trip once before and even asked the planner if he was having it this year. I think it may just be this one person who doesn't care to invite me while everyone else still reaches out. It feels like I was selected out of my own friend group. It's not fun to try and force myself upon these people, and moving on might be the best option. To be honest, being left out like this has been a fear of mine since the very beginning, and the fact that it's now happened makes things sting a bit more. I actually had off work today and allowed myself to be upset for a bit after reading your comments. Smiley face, coffee. It has helped me clear my mind and approach things critically. I have a good idea of how to move forward and who to reach out to. OP's edit. Thank you to everyone for responding and giving me some insight. This post has truly helped me calm down and rationalize a bit. The situation still hurts, but I now have other perspectives to consider and can better convince myself that it's not the worst case scenario. I'm also realizing that the one friend who was planning this is actually quite a terrible friend who has no interest in keeping in touch. I'm going to reach out to others more often, and hopefully they'll still include me in things, but as far as the one guy goes, I'm just going to drop it and let us grow apart without causing any drama that may push me further. Thank you all for being so kind in this sub when people really need kindness in their lives. Also, let me tell you, Facebook memories might be one of the worst things on the internet because all I see are the good times we've all had, including the organizer. And yeah, I think I need a social media break. Alright, well, the community definitely helped OP out enough for her that she's going to do this. She's going to call somebody to figure out what's going on, and if that guy that was organizing doesn't want to be her friend anymore, she'll just let it happen and move on with their lives. You know, water off a duck's back, right? So now it's time that we move on to the update, but before that, if you're enjoying this story so far, go ahead and click that like button, and if you enjoy my videos, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Now, let's move on with the update. Some of you asked for an update, and I was given really solid advice, so I figured I'd post. I ended up texting with a friend, both of us reminiscing about good times. This conversation came up on its own, and it felt reassuring to know that they wanted to reach out to me. I took this opportunity to tell them how I felt about the cabin trip that just happened and not being invited. And you guys were right. The friend I was texting was surprised I didn't know about it and felt sorry that I wasn't able to attend, as they know how much I love everyone. They told me that I was missed and that I was still a part of the group, and it wasn't fair that I didn't get the invite. Apparently, another mutual friend who always attends wasn't invited either. The person coordinating was just being forgetful, which I do understand because they have a lot going on, and the two of us who weren't invited live further away from everyone. Overall, I've been reaching out a lot more this past week and feel more connected to everyone. A couple of us have even jokingly made a pact that we won't ever exclude each other again. I'm really glad I ended up texting someone. Thanks to everyone here who encouraged me to do so and those who helped calm me down when I was feeling pretty bad. Everything turned out better than expected. Smiley face. Coffee. OP's edit. A lot of people seem to think this is a big negative conspiracy theory about all my friends trying to ditch me. I should clarify a few things. There are more than just 8 of us. It's like a fluctuating group of 12 to 15 people from college. Many have been in and out on these trips over the years, so it makes sense why some people wouldn't think or ask questions about me being invited. Next, this isn't like a group of just girls or anything. My friends are mostly composed of a bunch of lazy boys and a few girls, me being one of them, who don't start drama or go out of their way to make sure someone is left out. They wear their emotions on their sleeves, so if someone tells me that it was an oversight, I believe them. It would be petty and weird for me not to. We've been through a lot together, so it will take a lot more for me to lose trust in any of them. Another thing is that a smaller group of people live closer together now and meet up way more often than all of us can manage, so they're more used to me not being there. That's just the way it is, and I get that if I wanted to be included, I have to do my part and reach out more. Crap happens and life moves on. I do know this. And it's not like I don't have other friends here or am too attached to these people. I'm prepared for life to change whether I want it or not. I just really do believe, while this sounds shady and while one person may be deliberately not including me, I have no reason to believe that it reflects the views of everyone in the group. Finally, I mentioned that the only reason anyone would drop me would be intelligence, and just know that I am a confident person who can recognize if someone doesn't want my company because of what I don't know. I am really nice, but I know when to tell people to F off, and if I do have to tell someone to F off, it's the organizer, not the entire group of friends. And even still, this isn't enough for me to tell someone to F off when it is extremely likely that he forgot. But if I do end up having to forget about him, then whatever. Other people will still invite me to their crap, and he'll just have to deal with me being there. Okay, so the explanation that OP got is that the organizer forgot, and apparently a lot of people in the comment section kinda don't buy that. I'm not so sure I buy that either. Maybe that particular person has a problem with OP, I don't know. It sounds like the rest of the group doesn't, so that's a good thing, and now OP is making an effort to reach out to them often. So with all that, nothing left to say, but thank you for sharing, OP. Take care, and hopefully you can keep in touch with the people that truly love you in the future. Now, let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance, and it's by user Fetish23. I organized a rebellion against the professor in my political science class. This was about 10 plus years ago when I returned to the local university to finish my bachelor's degree in political science. I was a non-traditional student, so I was a little older and a little more willing to question things. I was taking a 3000 level political science course, so it was designed for political science majors and was required for my political science degree. It was a fairly basic political science course, but the professor did some weird things. Specifically, there was a quiz every class over the assigned reading. These quizzes made up a significant part of the grade. But here's the tricky part. He seemed to be doing some sort of experiments with the wisdom of crowds. The correct answer for a quiz question was the answer that was given by most students in the class, a plurality, whether it was based on fact or not. What most students says was the answer was the correct answer. For example, if the question was, what year was the US Constitution ratified? Even though the factually correct answer would be 1789, if the majority of people chose 1776, then 1776 was the right answer, and you got credit for your answer. If you chose 1789, you were wrong and didn't get credit. This forced you to make a decision. Try to be factually accurate or try to figure out what the crowd was going to do and go with that. Neither guaranteed you a correct answer. The majority of the time, the majority of students would actually choose the factually correct answer. But if it was a common misconception or the question was poorly worded, then that could lead to a situation where the crowd was wrong. But here's what drove me nuts. 1. I was not willing to make my grade dependent on whatever the other students thought might be the correct answer. 2. My grade became dependent on conforming to what the crowd said was true. I had no real control over my grade since the wisdom of the crowd could be anything. 3. A class of 30 students was probably not a large enough crowd to give you a good example of the wisdom of the crowds. And 4. Learning the material was not the point. Conforming to the crowd was what got you a good grade. Cue malicious compliance and rebellion. I figured out that if we all agreed to choose the same answer for every question, then we could all guarantee ourselves a perfect score on the quiz. In reality, I only needed a plurality of people to go along with my plan. As long as I could muster enough votes for an answer, then we could control our destiny. It didn't matter if A was the correct answer or not. If we controlled the votes, we controlled our grades. And anyone who didn't go with us was going to fail regardless of whether their answer was correct or not. I met everyone at the door to the classroom and explained the plan. For every question, we are going to choose the first option. If it's multiple choice, it's option A. If it's true or false, we are choosing true. If we all agree to this, then we can all get perfect scores. If you decided to go against us, your answer will be wrong. The first time we did this, the professor figured out after a few questions that we were gaming the system. He had us redo the quiz and graded us on the factually correct answers. After the second time we did this, the professor changed the rules. 2 answers would get you full points, the factually correct answer and whether answer the majority agreed upon. In the end, I was okay with this arrangement. I could study and give the correct answer without being penalized for not conforming to the crowd's thinking. Or if I made the same mistake as the majority of people, then I still got credit for it and it was a good discussion point for the class. Yes, I got an A in the class. I'm not sure if the professor ever figured out who organized the rebellion, but I did end up working with him in grad school and we got along just fine. Afterward, I always wondered, did he do this to teach us about the power of grassroots organizing? It might not have been his intention, but he turned me into a leader even though I never wanted to be one. I organized a campaign to overthrow bad leadership, and we created a new regime where truth and discourse were both valued. And we learned that a plurality of voters can determine the path forward even if they are not the majority. P.S. This whole scheme was flawed and subject to the tyranny of the majority. I'm not sure how he didn't see this. It seems pretty basic to me. Or maybe he was trying to teach us about game theory. I never did figure that out, and let's be honest, if you knew the right answer, trying to figure out what the majority of the people would do is a losing proposition. You knew the answer, so trying to figure out how the majority of people could get a question wrong forced you to think the opposite of what got you to the correct answer in the first place. Honestly, OP, I agree with you. I have no idea what your professor was trying to do, but it doesn't really matter because you got an A in the class because you played the system and then forced your professor to change the rules to actually fit basically all answers. Good for you, OP. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.